today is the first day of GBJAM 12, and this is my first devlog. So, this is focused around making a Game Boy inspired game. If you go down here, some of the rules for this. The main theme is Game Boy, secondary theme is Spooky, which was just released this morning at like 3 a.m. for me. So we got to keep a resolution 160 by 144. We can only ever have 4 colors on the screen at once. Got to use the Game Boy, D-pad, A, B, select, start. And we got to make all our assets during this game jam. And also no AI. And then these are the criteria we'll be rated on. So, to kind of go over the ideas I had for this, I do like the idea of making something that is similar to the NES Godzilla story. If you know about this, basically, classic game, Godzilla for the NES, and it's about this guy playing through one of his favorite childhood games, and this thing is in it, invading his game, making things weird. And I really like the story, and I think it's an interesting way to do kind of like a retro game themed horror. I think it's a unique style that I think will be pretty interesting. So not in the sense of directly doing this with Godzilla, but more so taking this idea of taking like a classic game and twisting it in a unique way. So I can't directly do a classic game here. I don't know where it says. Somewhere it says in here, we can't use IPs like from other companies. If we did, I think I might make something based off of like Metroid 2. I think this will probably be my primary inspiration for like the design of the game, like the kind of core game that exists in sort of, well, to use a pretentious term, the meta narrative. The core uncorrupted version of the game would be perhaps some version of Metroid 2, kind of like this space horror. Because Metroid 2, I think does kind of have a weird, like, spooky ambience to it as well, like how empty it is, and like, the limited color set. It's interesting. And it's already kind of a little spooky in its own way, so I want to kind of mimic that feel, and then also add something like the NES Godzilla character in there as well. But like, I mean, look at this pixel art. That's pretty crazy. But anyway, so another thing that I thought might make an interesting inspiration is R-Type for the Game Boy, and I think this was originally an arcade game, but man, that pixel art is just fantastic. That's great. So I think I might want to do something like this as well. And I also have the Metroid 2 map. This is really quite large. I didn't know it was this large. So I'm gonna have to, limit my scope quite significantly. Probably only really have maybe like 2 to 4 Metroidvania style upgrades, like like stuff that's pretty easy to implement, like a jump boost, a better attack, that sort of thing. So I've actually gotten started on creating assets. I think I'm going to call the game TROMIUS, which comes from me messing around in Google Translate, and I think this is Greek for like terror or something. Or like kind of I kind of like manipulated the word a little bit. So the base word is, I believe, the Greek word for terror. So TROMIUS, which I thought kind of sounded like that sort of retro. Because like Metroid comes from, like Metro Android, right? So I wanted to kind of mimic that sort of etymology. So just kind of a mock-up for the start screen. And then this is going to be the main character. Little like robot warrior guy with a sword. This is the basic stance. Him running. So to kind of, something like that. I might add more frames later, but these old games did have quite limited animations, mainly because of the, sprite limitations, which we don't have to abide by, so you can do fancier animations, but I also want to keep my scope limited because I'm definitely... Ooh, that's interesting. Might be a change I'll make. Anyway. Then we also have a basic attack. So something like that. And then a basic enemy. I was kind of thinking those little crawlers in Metroid that, like, you know, they stick along the wall and, like, go around corners and stuff. I want to do as much of the programming myself as possible. I know there's, like, kids you can rely on to basically have, like, a pre-made game, but I want to learn some stuff. So I want to have my own game logic as much as possible. Not going too crazy with it, but yeah. So that's so I'll be using Asprite, or I guess I don't know. Everyone says Asprite, but it's technically spelled like Asaprite. I don't know. Weird. Anyway, I'll be using that for my pixel art. I'll be making this in Game Maker Studio, and then I will be using Reaper with the Sora Boy plugin for the music. So, like, to just kind of give you a sample of, like, the type of music we got. That's kind of the style I have available to me. So, I think I will continue working on this tonight, but in my devlog tomorrow, I do hope to have a basic setup here. I'm going to add some tiles, a couple enemies, basic enemy logic, and then also like a, you know, very basic control scheme, just like walking, jumping, attacking. Nothing crazy. No, like, you know, wall jumps or sprinting or anything like that. At least not yet. Maybe we'll add that in, but I think having a limited player control also does lend to, you know, like old games, especially, you know, NES, Game Boy. They did tend to have somewhat like a clunky, well, not always, of course, but, you know, there's more of a tendency for them to have kind of clunky, you know, not smooth controls. Like if you ever, if you watch gameplay of like Metroid 2, you know, there's certainly a little bit of a disconnect compared to something like Super Metroid, obviously. So, you know, is that me making an excuse for not making it better? Maybe. Or it's an artistic choice. I guess that's up to you. Anyway, I think that's gonna about do it for this devlog. I will let you know tomorrow how things are going.